This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Hello 313, hello Michigan, and thank you for listening to Travel Basketball with Gus Weaver. I'm your host. This show is primarily dedicated to travel basketball around the great state of Michigan. We do talk about basketball beyond Michigan, but it's a Michigan-based program. Please feel free to follow me, Gus Weaver, on Twitter. 313LifeBrand is the Twitter handle. Something that we do, this is an original format. For you guys that's been listening, we've been at it for a little over 2 months. We're slowly growing this audience to discuss basketball, youth basketball, travel youth basketball. We try to provide you guys with a different guest every week on the program, from coaches to directors. We're looking at having on a few referees. And as we continually grow this audience, you'll start to see the names get bigger and bigger in terms of the guests that we bring in for you guys to listen to, and pick their brains, get a little bit of info about their personal lives, and some behind the scenes basketball action. We always try to look at a tournament that happened last weekend. We try to look at a tournament that's happening this coming weekend. We always give out shout outs at the end of the program for you guys that's been listening, you guys that follow me on social media. A lot of time I'll preview the show, or I will review the show on social media, and I'll tell you guys, if you got anything worth a shout out, a hot player, a hot team, big tournament coming up, tryouts coming up, drop me a vine and I'll give you guys a shout out when it's time for that. We got a great show lined up for you today, fresh off of July 4th, Wednesday. The holiday felt a little bit weird being placed in the middle of the week like it was, but nonetheless, we had a ball in my family for the 4th of July. So let's what I want to do this week, I want to look ahead to a big time tournament for the high school kids, and it's hosted by Reach. The name of this tournament is the July Tune-Up. It's held in Dearborn, Michigan. A lot of big name teams, high school level, will be at this tournament. And I think it's only 4 divisions. So, you probably got about, maybe 35, 40 teams spread out through those 4 divisions, only 4 trophies being awarded, so big time competition. We'll take a look at that. We also have a special guest lined up, Coach Brian Autry, aka Coach B, a fellow that's big in Detroit, pal. He's been doing it for quite a long time. I won't say much more about him. I'm gonna let him do the talking and brag on himself when we have him on a little later in the program. And he will give you a little bit of insight on what he thinks about the craziness of the NBA free agency period so far. And I think that's a pretty good adjective to use, because it has been crazy. You got everybody's talking about it. You can't log on to Twitter or Facebook or Instagram without seeing something about who signed here today. So we'll talk about that, and I'll give you a little bit of, what I think about that. And then we'll get into the shout out portion of the program. One of my favorite parts of the show, because this is what I'm asking you guys to do. So anybody that comes at me and say, Gus, hey, can you shout out? Not only do I know you're listening, I know you will be listening, because you're getting the shout out. And that's what's appreciated from me. Take the time to click that link, and like I said, we're slowly but surely gathering listeners. First things first, I mentioned this big time tournament coming up this weekend in Dearborn, hosted by Reach. Reach, as I've always said, is they're kind of the glue of Michigan travel basketball programs like Reach. Been around for a long time, doing it in their own way. I'm not gonna say the right way, because who's to say that my way is the right way, but every program kind of does it their way. And that's what makes these things special, is every program is a little bit different. Let's take a look at the 8th graders. These are 8th graders going into 9th grade here in probably about 8 weeks now. They'll be starting the 9th grade. But in terms of travel basketball, you're still considered an 8th grader until actual school starts. So when those fall leagues starts, that's when these guys will be classified, as the next grade up. In this 8th grade division, stacked with talent, you got AABA 03. We talked about that before. These two organizations, AABA and 03, come together and form this elite team, and they're participating in this at the 8th grade level. We got the Bad Boys. We got Hudson Elite, Motor City Chargers, Muskegon Heat, Reach, Team Attack, and UTS Elite. One thing, UTS Elite, I'm not sure who these guys are. The Bad Boys, I'm wondering if they're the Bad Boys that I know, but those are the Motor City Bad Boys. These guys just got Bad Boys on the schedule, so I'm not sure if they're the same, because there's always a lot of name biting going on in terms of youth basketball. My guy Daryl Hudson is leading his team up there, Hudson Elite. I really like those kids. I like Team Attack at this level, kind of like a sleeper pick amongst this group. And we've talked about Muskegon Heat on, numerous occasions, because these guys just come out and start winning trophies. I told you about our personal history with my Hot Boys going against Muskegon Heat. Tough games, good program. So for this, I got my eye on 3 teams: Hudson Elite, Muskegon Heat, and Team Attack. And we'll see what happens, how that 8th grade division unfolds. Listen in next week, and we will review this tournament. 9th graders, another division that is loaded with talent, loaded with big name teams, big name players. So here we go. Once again, AABA 03 put together this elite team. They're in. DV45, the Denzel Valentine group, they're in. Greenwood Elite, Mr. Woodley, the Pittsburgh Steelers great. This is his squad. He's in. Michigan Dynamite, Michigan Hawks, the Michigan Mavericks are from Lansing. I've had personal experience. My Hot Boys going against these guys, obviously not at the high school age, but solid program, the Michigan Maverick. Motor City Chargers out of Detroit. These guys are starting to travel a little bit more and play a little bit more consistently. North Oakland Wolfpack, Oakland Elite, Reach, Sky's the Limit, and UTS Elite. Like I said, man, loaded with talent. I want you to keep your eye on Greenwood Elite in this one. Keep your eye on DV45 in this one. And sleeper, my sleeper for this 9th grade, North Oakland Wolfpack. These guys have been going all around, man, playing in tournaments. They're getting that experience under the belt. And it's about time for these guys to start winning some hardware. That's a look at the 10th grade, or 9th grade, I should say. Let's look at the 10th grade now. Probably the smallest division in this tournament, definitely the 10th graders. But once again, you got AABA 03, Detroit Spartans, Greenwood Elite, Michigan Titans, Motor City Chargers, Reach, and SFG. Don't know who SFG is. I do know who Detroit Spartans are. They've been kicking major tail this year. I'm looking for them and AABA in this one to go head-to-head in the championship. Like I said, the Spartans have been kicking butt, taking names, letting you know about it on social media. Aren't scared of any of these guys. And I'll give you another team, Reach. I wouldn't be surprised to see Spartans and Reach in this title game, but I'm definitely looking for AABA to come through in one of these. And that I would say that this 10th grade division in this one will probably, even though it's the smallest group, be the most competitive group. Tons of talent will be on display. Let's look at 11th grade. Detroit Hurricanes, Reach, Detroit Spartans, Greg Grant Elite, Hawks from Canada, Hudson Elite, Michigan Blazers, Michigan Mustangs, NYIA Eagles, and UTS Elite. Look, here's the deal with this. So many teams, it's hard to really pick because there's about 4 teams that I really think could win this division. And how about I'll just name them for you, the 4 teams that I really think have a legit shot coming away with a trophy at the 11th grade division. Reach is definitely one. Detroit Spartans, Greg Grant Elite. I've seen those guys and loaded with talent. And the Michigan Blazers. I'm not sure if this is the Michigan Blazers team that I'm thinking about, but it seems like if it is, they may have changed the name a little bit, but those are the teams that I think in this 11th grade division really stand a chance at coming away with a trophy. For these tournaments that we talk about, that we preview, that we review, it would be great if there's a coach listening and, I discuss your team or I bring your team up it would be great to have you guys on as interviews. You know, that's what I do. I give exposure to some of the lesser than programs in terms of, you know, social media. Are they known? Are they well known? You know, if not, those are the programs, those are the kids that I prefer to discuss on this program, because there's tons of kids out there that's they got way too much exposure. Some of it not deserved. There's a lot of kids also that don't have enough exposure, and it is deserved. It's deserving for the kids that's working out constantly. You know, so that's one of the goals from this show, Travel Basketball with Gus Weaver. That's one thing that we do try to do. Once again, that's a look at the Reach July tune-up. If you're in the Dearborn area this Saturday, it's a quick one-day tournament, I do believe. If you're in the Dearborn area this Saturday, Dearborn Heights to be specific, please be, you know, able to stop by Hype and check out some of these programs that I've been telling you about, because I guarantee you it is if it's nothing else, it's entertaining to see these top-notch ballers that eventually, you know, you'll see grow. You'll see some of these guys go to high school. You see some of these guys go to college. And it's very nice to say that you saw them on this level in terms of youth travel basketball. As promised, a very special guest for the program tonight. A man that does big time just duties, man, like just doing what's right in the city of Detroit and some of the suburban cities. We have to welcome Coach Brian Autry, aka Coach B, from Supreme Skills Development Association and the coach at David Ellis Academy West. Coach B, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure, man. You know, just so you're comfortable, you know, with the format, like what we do is every week we try to talk about a tournament from last week. We talk about an upcoming tournament, and we have a guest. Obviously, this week, I'm proud to have you as my guest. First things first, I want to touch on your brand new squad, Supreme Reign. I just saw on social media that you guys came away with a big time tournament victory over a nationally ranked FA Heat team. Can you speak about your squad at all, man, and just inform the listeners what you got going on?
Yes, sir. Well, my squad is Supreme Reign. We won that tournament, and basically we put that team together in the last minute. It was the last minute. I really wasn't going to go do AU for boys. I just had a girls team, which we are Supreme Reign 2, a girls team, just to get my girls to play. Well, the boys came to me and said we want a team too. So I told them, if you can get 8 guys, I'm willing to do it. And they got the 8 guys, so we went from there, and we got in the tournament, and FA Heat actually beat us the first time. You know, to qualify to get in the bracket play, they beat us, and they beat us like by 10 points. The game was close all the way through. They broke off in the end, and they won it. So I'm really proud of my boys because they didn't let that discourage them. They got back into it, and we beat them for the championship in that tournament.
And I know that's a good feeling, man. Some of the best feelings from winning a tournament is when you get beat in pool play. And because no matter what, if you're a championship caliber team and you get beat in pool play, to win that tournament, you're going to have to beat that team that beat you in pool play.
Yes, sir.
And
yes, sir.
It's a good feeling, man. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Hey, man, like we one of the things we do on this program is we give, I guess you want to say exposure could be used as a word, but we like to shout out kids and shout out programs that don't get that national hype. Like, you know, late bloomers, you know, fresh programs, kids that's just not on social media. Because, you know, like I know a lot of these kids on social media, when you finally do run across them in real life, a lot of them are overrated, and, you know, social media does that for them. So, you know, from my perspective, is there any kids on your squad? This is your chance to shout out any kids on your squad by name and what they bring to the team.
Yes, sir. Well, first and foremost is, you know, my boy, Brian Autry, a.k.a. Uno. I mean, this kid, he eats, sleep, breathe basketball. Hey, this guy, basketball is everything to him. He can do it all. Like, I know we're going to get into the NBA free agency a little bit later. Boogie Cousins is my favorite player because he does it all. He can shoot the ball. He can post up. He do a little bit of everything. ever seen for his age. Like, I'll show him a post move and he'll master it. Right, as soon as I show him, just about. And he can shoot. His range stretches out to the 3-point line and beyond. And I see a lot of Boogie Cousins in his game.
Hey.
And sometimes the attitude too. We working on that, but.
Well, every player for the most part come with a little bit of attitude, but
Yes, sir.
you know, I'm familiar with your son's game, and I agree with you on that comparison to Boogie Cousins in terms of a skill set, a body makeup, and the slight attitude, which is that's nothing bad if you ask me. I think every good ball player got a little bit of an edge. You know what I'm saying? Because without that, without that, you got to have an edge, because if you a premier player, you gonna get tested. You gonna have the other teams, you know, first or second best defender on you, and they gonna talk trash. They gonna try to clap in your face and all that. So if you ain't got the edge, you gonna be like out of there real quick.
Yep, definitely. And then another kid, Jalen Jenkins, aka JJ. This kid been with me since 2nd grade. Now, it's a funny story about JJ. I have a Pee Wee team that I had. Now, the first year JJ was in 1st grade, I cut him because I had one more spot left, and it was between him and the 2nd grader. It wasn't that he was bad. It was the 2nd grader was not going to be on Pee Wee the next year, so I chose the 2nd grader. And he was distraught. I thought I lost him, definitely lost him. But he came back the next year, and not only did he make the team, he was the best player on that team.
Nice.
So this kid been with me since the 2nd grade, and he's amazing. Amazing. Another kid he does it all, and he's so coachable. Anything I tell him to do, he does it. No question. He give me a look sometimes where I can't do that, and then he'll get out there, he'll do it.
You know, that's another kid that I'm familiar with.
Yes.
Jalen, man, I really love his game. I always have. You know, I don't know. It was probably almost 2 years ago when I met you, and he was one of the premier players on that team. You know, when I met you, you know, the first time we had to go around with you, your team beat my son's team in Detroit PAL play. You know, for the schools though, and. You know, that was one of the things that I remember. You know, obviously we met back up in the championship, and Jalen balled out. Yeah, we got the second one, but you know, big props to Jalen, man. I remember. I think he scored is what seemed to be the first 8 points of that game on us. You know,
he did.
So the boy got mad skills, man.
He does.
I know. Go ahead.
And then another one of your boys, I mean, that you're familiar with, he played for your squad a little bit, Christopher Bryant. This kid, when we first started, his sister is amazing.
Yes, she is.
Amazing. He didn't want to play at first. Like, he had no interest in basketball. And then slowly, me talking to him, he started playing. And, you know, he was raw in the beginning, and now, like, he's blossoming. He's really, really blossoming. Like I'm really proud of that kid. I'm
sure, man. You know, there was one game, anytime I think about Chris, because like you said, I'm familiar with him. He played for the Hot Boys he was one of the original Hot Boys. You know what I mean? And we only got one player left from that original 8 or 9 that we had, which is crazy. I mean, it's crazy, but that's basketball. Yeah, that's how it is. But, Chris, I remember one game in particular, man, like everybody on our team was struggling in the first half, and this was against a team called The Program in the Playmakers League, and I believe Chris had 17 first half points, and he was killing them from the corner, you know, the drive, the floater, getting and runs, and you know, that game for me just stood out. I even featured him on social media after that. I think he had like 17 to 18 point first half. Very familiar with Chris. And that's my guy, for real. I love CB5 is what we used to call him. So, next thing, man, I know you got a big camp coming up that you're involved with, correct?
Yes, sir. It will be at David Ellis Academy West. And I actually started it back in 2010 with my oldest daughter. She was playing for her school, and I really didn't like the coaching. So I started the camp for kids who wanted to play ball but didn't have the access, or, you know, these camps around, they're very expensive.
Right.
So I wanted to start a camp up that was work as you can in the big camps.
Right.
Because it really wasn't about making money for me. It was about getting the kids that wouldn't get the exposure in the big camps to learn how to play ball and keep them involved in playing ball.
That's a big deal too, man.
Yes, sir.
You know, I tend to think that people that's in it for the money, they ain't in it for the right reasons. Because
no, definitely not.
You know, I'm in it, and I never saw myself as being in this business. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But
definitely,
it was kind of forced upon me, and I kind of took it and ran with it, and here we are. You know, talking on Detroit Sports Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
It does
So
that to you, though. When you're involved with kids in sports, it take over.
yeah, it does, man. You know, it could be good and bad. Because
definitely.
I know plenty of guys that say, you know, it messes with their home life. You know, I done got a divorce over traveling for basketball and crazy stuff like that.
Yeah, I know the stories, definitely.
You spoke on DAW, man, David Ellis Academy West.
Yes,
Give the listeners a little bit about your basketball background, your experience in youth basketball in the Detroit area, because anybody involved in Detroit basketball right now, they kind of know who you are. You've been around for a minute. You've been doing this for a minute. So give them a little bit of your background.
Yeah, like I was saying, I started doing camps in 2010. Well, before that, a little bit before I did the camps, I ran a dad's league. We ran in it with my daughter because I wasn't happy with the coaching. She was at another school. So to get her ready, me and a couple of other dads, we jumped in the league where the league was about fathers and daughters. And we started to run a team or whatever in there. And from there, I fell in love with coaching. And when I first started with the camps, I had no idea that I was going to be a coach. I just wanted to get kids better for when they went back to their school teams.
Right.
But God works
in
mysterious ways. He definitely does. So when I did the camp, it was a kid from David Ellis Academy West was in my camp. And she said, well, our coach just left. He didn't say he was quitting or anything, so we don't have a coach. And it was like last minute. So her mother got me an interview. So I got to the interview. They loved me. So I started coaching there, and we started with just a girls team. Like she put me on a trial basis just with the girls, and the girls really weren't good basketball players, but I taught them as well as I could, and they all learned. Like we had like 2 basketball players, and the rest were like cheerleaders.
Right.
So they flourished well enough where the AD said, "Well, we're gonna let you do the boys." So my first year with the boys, I had a JV, which is 6th grade and under, and then the varsity, which is 7th to 8th grade. Now the varsity, they played well. It was 8-4 season, and we made it to the second round. But my JV team that year, we went 16-0, and we won a championship my first year. Like, and I definitely that was an amazing season. Like those kids where I started, they graduated this year. I tried to make everything I could. I went to graduations. I went to prom send-offs. Those kids, I've been with those kids forever. Like those kids are like family to me. Well, all the kids I coach are like family to me. But those kids, they hold a special place to me.
That's your first group.
Yeah, definitely.
And I saw that. I saw a lot of those pictures, you know, on posts on social media. You know, you at different houses in one day, you know, for the prom send-offs. And, you know, that's something that these kids, you know, you can still call them kids, even though they're 17, 18. It's something that they won't ever forget, man. Like, you know, for me, a lot of the things I do, it is, you know, it's about making memories, so to speak. You know, so in 4 or 5 years, somebody could bring something up while we at a barbecue or something, and it's like, damn, man, I ain't thought about that in 5 years, you know, or something. So, you know, when we first started the Hot Boys, you were on the coaching staff, and you know, you got my personal endorsement as one heck of a coach. You do it for the kids. I saw you, man. You just had, I don't even know how many kids y'all took to the movies. That was a big group.
It was a lot. It was a lot. We like overwhelmed the movie staff when we walked in. They didn't expect it.
I bet, man. That's something crazy, you know. But that's all. Like I said, that's creating memories, man. Like years from now, them kids gonna be talking about that.
Definitely.
Speaking of memories, man, from what I remember, the NBA wasn't as crazy as it is now in terms of free agency period.
No way.
I mean,
no way.
I find myself glued to TV, and I'm never glued to TV because I don't have time to be glued to TV. But
Right.
I'm trying to keep up with every little move.
Everything.
First and foremost, what's your thoughts on King James going to LA?
I mean, I think it was the move to make. I think his time in Cleveland ran his course.
Yeah.
He did all he could do in Cleveland, and I think LA was the no-brainer. It was where the next level of his career had to go. It had to go. I mean, sorry to say, he was just too big for Cleveland. It was time to go on a bigger stage and try to. Even though I don't think he will be ever, because I'm a Mike Jordan fan, but he's trying to get that GOAT title. He's chasing that GOAT. So that was the place to do it. He had to go to LA and try to, go to the historic team.
Let me ask you this, man. You think he'll ever win another championship for the rest of his career?
If Kawhi Leonard joined him over there, it's a really good chance. That Golden State team is, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, there's never been a team assembled like that team.
Right.
Like, it's going to be really hard. You got to have some luck to beat that team.
No doubt.
And even then, it's going to be hard.
Well, you got to play a perfect game, man. Sometimes when you stack up one team versus another, you know that one team has to play a perfect game to beat that other team. And just
he's done it once, though. He's done it once. It can be done. If anybody can do it, he can do it, especially with help. That's why I say if he gets Kawhi, he has a really good chance. Really good chance. I just don't think this year because, Boogie over there. And
I was going to ask you, that's like the ultimate counter to, like, not only counter you on the court, but counter the LA Lakers move off the court. It shut down all that LeBron noise the very next day. You know what I'm saying? Everybody talking about Cousins, Golden State, hey, the lead and going to hell in the handbasket, like the ultimate counter move.
Definitely. I mean, and it was one of those God things too. It was like this would never happen if he wouldn't have got injured.
Right.
If he would have got injured, and then the contract negotiations went sour and everything, it was like the perfect storm to land there. Like he fits there. I know people say he has an attitude problem and he's slow to get back on defense and all this, but the dude can do everything. Like, he's a great passer, he's a great shooter, he's a great post-up guy. Like, he plugs a hole that they've had in all 4 of these finals. Right.
That's what somebody else said to me. They said, man, he can't play there. He don't fit in. I said, dude, they just won all these trophies with, like, JaVale McGee starting.
Right.
You think Boogie can't get plugged in there? Like, come on, man.
You have to, because Boogie, his skill set is way above JaVale McGee. JaVale McGee was setting picks and rolling or catching lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can actually run the offense through Boogie.
Exactly.
Which is crazy.
It is crazy, man, considering, how big his body is, man. Like,
right.
He one of them guys that's kind of like Giannis. They just freaks, man. Like Boogie, Giannis, KD, LeBron, like they just freaks of nature, man.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Coach, before I let you go, man, social media wise, where can our listeners follow you? Keep up to speed on what you got going on. Follow the squad.
Okay. On Facebook, we're Supreme Skills Development Association. I won't give any camp information out because if you follow me on Facebook or you go through my Facebook page, that's where you get all the camp information, because I only want serious, participants in the camp. I'm not a babysitter. I'm not there to watch your kids. I want your kids to come and I want them to work, because I want them to be better than when they first started with me.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, if you're interested in the camp, I want you to come. Follow me on Facebook at Supreme Skills Development Association, and come through there, and you'll get all the information you need for the camp.
That's what's up, man. It's always a pleasure.
Also on Twitter, it's the same thing. It's Supreme Skills Development Association on Twitter.
So y'all check it out in case you missed it. Supreme Skills Association. Is that right?
Development Association.
Supreme Skills Development Association on Facebook and Twitter. please go follow my man, Coach Brian Autry, a.k.a. Coach B. He's doing it for the kids. One heck of a coach. I was happy to have him as part of my organization. And I would recommend him to anybody, whatever camp he got going on. I would recommend it to any player. Coach B, thank you for being a part of the program, man. I really appreciate it. It's always good to talk to you.
Always. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Talk to you soon.
Yep. Thank you.
No problem. That was Coach B, Coach Brian Autry from Supreme Skills Development Association, coach at David Ellis Academy West. Check him out. Follow him. So if you've been listening, you know I like to end the program with a shout-out portion. This is one of the things that I really enjoy because I ask you guys, what are you doing? Now, you tell me what you're doing. If it's worthy of a shout-out, I'm going to do just that. I'm going to shout you out at this part of the program, even if it's not about sports. This week, we are doing our first shout-outs for something that's not sports-related. And what that says to me is that the show is growing. More people are listening. More people are requesting to be shouted out, and it's got nothing at all to do with sports. Let's get right to it. Royal family, royalty. My man Rod Blake having a huge cabaret this weekend. Follow him on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. Royal family, Rod Blake. This is your shout out. Should be a good time. Check it out if you're not familiar with the cabaret scene. It is a BYOB, grown folks environment, a lot of good food, and just good times to be had. So Rod Blake, that's your shout out. Next shout out, personal friend of mine, Kenya Powell, and her boutique. It's called Ice Cold Boutique. She's having a big time sale this weekend, tomorrow actually, Saturday, probably the early part of the day, I do believe, but follow her as the same, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Ice Cold Boutique. Kenya Powell, she's the owner. She's a very good business person. I've done business with her in the past. She's held some 313 Life apparel and sold out of her boutique. And she's really making big time moves. You know, we participated in a fashion show of hers some months back. So check her out, Kenya Powell, Ice Cold Boutique. We got to give a shout out to the Supreme Reign Boys Basketball Club. We just had the coach on, Coach B. He had tons of knowledge. You know, tons of stories. You got a chance to listen to his background, so to speak. So his brand new team on the scene, Supreme Reign. This is your shout out. Shout out 313 Sports Plug, offering videos to be shot on site this weekend only. From what I've told, call these guys. What they do is provide highlight videos for some of these young ballers, no matter the sport. They put music with it. It's pretty sweet. Check them out on Instagram. Check them out on Facebook. 313 Sports Plug. Last shout out, not least, my very own 2024 313 Hot Boys traveling to Greenville, Michigan this weekend to participate in another Gus Macker, looking to bring home that golden Gus. Good luck, boys. That's the shout out session. You just listened to another episode of Travel Basketball with me, Gus Weaver.